in 2002 to 2005, you played drums for Thornley. So we're getting a connection in here with Ian
Mm,
Thornley of Big Wreck. And you actually played the drums on the debut album Come Again. And this is
mhm.
where I come in as a fan. So I was about 17, 18 when that came out. And I
Yeah.
remember I was a huge fan. The four singles, So Far So Good, Come Again, Easy Comes, and Beautiful. That album, I remember listening to it. The sound was incredible. Like just the
Mhm.
sound of that album is incredible. And I actually have a question here from a fan that has to do with that sound. So this is from a fan, Scott Morgan says, "What's the secret to get such a kick you in the teeth drum sound that you have on the Come Again Thornley album? It is a dense, crunchy sound on that album."
Yeah. Well, enough times passed that I can pull the curtain back on that. Um, I that was in terms of performing, that was not a fun album to make. I did not enjoy recording those songs. I love the songs, but the way that we tracked those songs was not the way that I originally understood we were going to track them. So we had done 2 or 3 weeks of pre-production with the songs. I just rehearsed them every day, 8 hours a day, and I had my DW kit with my well-tuned DW toms and my cymbals and stuff and everything. So I was used to playing a certain way and playing ideas I had for parts with my full drum kit and my drums tuned, like drums. And then we went in and I discovered Gavin Brown, who produced the album, who is a phenomenal producer. He's done like 3 Days Grace and Big Sugar. He's done
He's
a bunch of
also a
stuff.
drummer, right? So you have
Yeah,
that
also a
connection.
really good drummer in his own way. He had some very decidedly different ideas on how to track stuff, and he had just come off the success of the 3 Days Grace stuff. So, kind of what he wanted to do was what we were going to do because we wanted to have that kind of success. Um, and what that meant was recording on a mishmash Frankenstein kit of I want to say it was like a 90, and this is how you track. So it is what it is. I'm not knocking the gear at all. But a 1940s 24-inch leady bass drum with no front head. I think I had a 14, and my set was like DW, like, 10, 12, 15, 16, 24. My snare was like a 14x7 or something, all fresh heads and yada yada yada. So going in, recording on leady with no front head, a shorter stack, kick drum, a Rogers 14x14 floor tom as my mounted tom with a whole bunch of tape on it. It was more tape on the drum head than head. A 16-inch Ludwig, a 16 by something Ludwig floor with no bottom head on it. Again, a bunch of tape all over it. A host of different snares, obviously, and overdubbing all the cymbals afterwards. So all of a sudden, now all the parts I'm playing where I'm playing fills, gone. Now I'm playing not 10, 12, 15, 16, 14, 16, 24, or whatever, with no front head, no hi-hat, no crashes. I can't write on the crash the chorus is. So I've got to recontextualize, reconfigure all of my parts now. So, and then go back in and play the hi-hat. And then if I'm crashing on the chorus for coming in, I have to remember now the fill that I'm playing starts on the end of beat 3. So I have to come off the crash because I wouldn't be playing, just completely threw everything out of the window for me. And then what we were going to do on top of that was a lot of those drum sounds were samples. So we used the drums for the girth, right? Which is why I didn't have to sound particularly lively. But then we went in, and I think at the time, God, I'm telling so many tales out of school here, but I think it's just enough times passed.
This is the
I think
Wizard of Oz behind the curtain, the magician giving his tricks. I like it. This is what the fans want. Give us the goods. Yeah.
he had a kit pack, a sample pack of Jose from Incubus's DW kit that I guess he'd known the engineer for some of the Incubus sessions, and he'd given him this pack of all his DW toms, well tuned, and different snare drums, and we used those and we layered those with the drum sounds we had, and that was the drum sound you hear. Is the performance is real, but the drum sounds are all flown in to give it that. And so the reason we were doing the hi-hat and the cymbals afterwards is because at the time Gavin's style was to record the drums with a lot of room mics. So I want to say we had like 5 room mics. And the problem with hitting cymbals with a lot of room mics is, as you can guess, hit that crash and it's going to stick around right through the verse from the chorus, you know? So the idea is to keep the drum sound, do the cymbals afterward with a different miking technique, which made sense in the end in terms of how we wanted the drums to sound on the record. But in terms of playing, it shot me in the foot. Like there's stuff I'm playing on there where I'm literally just trying to make stuff up as I'm playing it, because the thing I was going to play incorporated cymbals and drums, you know, at the same time, or incorporated more drums or smaller drums or more melodic drums. So it wasn't a pleasant experience for me. I learned a lot, and I knew enough at the time, having done a bunch of sessions by then, that like my thinking with tracking is like, don't say, like, I could have given them 1,000 reasons why it was a bad idea or why it wouldn't have worked, but I've done that before. And when something goes wrong, or when someone's not happy with the finished product, the first person they look at is you, because they think, if Sekou just tried that idea, this would have sounded, you know, better. So my feeling has always been, for a long time, has always been like, just try it. Just even if they want you to play the snare on the 1 and 3s and the kicks and 2 and 4, and you know it's a bad idea, try it. Because it's not until you play it that people realize why it might not work, or, which has happened as well, like it might work and you might be totally wrong. You know what I mean? And it might be the perfect thing for the song. So my feeling was always like, as much as I was railing against playing without cymbals, you know, and overdub and afterwards, I'm just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my best foot forward and really try and see this through, because I don't want to be the reason that this doesn't work, you know? And in the end, it worked out. My feelings aside of how it felt to play it, it served the record. And hearing back again, decades later, people like you and other people who are fans of the album and the songs, like it worked out, right? It worked out. Again, I'll tell a little school-out tale that has nothing to do with me, but like that 3 Days Grace record, I forget the name of it, but the one that blew them up, he recorded those drums. Those were V drums. You know what I mean?
Rich was saying on the Grace of Blue Skies that it was V drums as well.
Yeah. So I mean, you just do what you need to do to make the thing work, and you have to kind of be able to put aside your personal preferences and dislikes for the end result. If it didn't work out in the long run, and we had to go back to my setup, I would have been like, see, you know, but in the long run, it worked out and people were happy. So it's good. For me, it's not, there were ideas and that I would like to have put on there. And there was some hesitation, certainly in my playing, I feel I can hear, that came from just not having the confidence of, you know, that setup. So, yeah.
Was that the biggest album that you had played on up until that point? And was that the first time you heard your songs on the radio, songs that you had played on?
Not the first time I heard the songs I played on. I've had some, again, the Ivana thing was, with the drum and bass thing, was a really big song. That was the first song I'd heard on the radio. And I remember there was a point where it was on so often that I remember, and the video I was in that was almost on all the time. So I do remember hearing the songs and being like, oh yeah, that again. And being like, holy crap, I'm over it. I'm over hearing myself on the radio. It's fucking awesome. Like that, you know, that was a milestone for me. Like, oh yeah, this again. But certainly at the time, it was definitely the biggest thing I'd done. We had the song was #1 for a few weeks, and then iTunes, it was #1 for a month or so, and
It even broke through to the US. Wasn't it a
It
top
broke through the
20
US.
single in the US? Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We got to do like the Tonight Show, which I've never done anything like that in my life. And then here we are on the Tonight Show playing with Jay Leno, like playing for Jay Leno, and my nerves are just going through the roof. No, I didn't have a click, so I just remember telling myself, "You're gonna feel like you're playing this too slow, but play it slower than you want to play because your adrenaline's going to be jacking through your veins." And I'm so glad I did. I listened back to that performance now, and it's still it's like 5 clicks too fast. But at the time, I remember being like, it felt like this when it's like this, because I was so nervous. So that was definitely the biggest thing. Yeah, it was definitely the first time I thought, I felt for a fact a thing I was in was going to go. We were doing we did like 6 months of touring, opening for Nickelback. We were on their label. So, I'm not a big Nickelback guy, certainly, but they were very, very kind to us, and they took us to the States and all across Canada playing. So it was definitely a watershed moment in terms of the stuff I had done was the biggest thing at the time for sure.
Yeah, and Nickelback was one of the biggest bands in the world, and that label 604 Records was hot at that time. I mean, they had they were associated with Default. They had Theory of a Dead Man. They had Mariana's Trench. On and on. It seemed like everything that they put out was a hit. So I think it was probably a good home for Thornley at that point. And then with Big Wreck, there's some Chad Kroeger connections there as well later on, right? There's a newer single that's charted that features Chad Kroeger. We'll jump into that in a second.
Yeah.